A dog can decide whether to trust a stranger in less than a second. Not because the stranger smells friendly, not because they speak softly, not even because the dog has seen them before. Animals make trust decisions constantly. A horse relaxes beside one person and shies away from another. A crow remembers a face for years. A dolphin chooses one swimming partner over the rest of its group. Across forests, oceans, farms, and cities, animals sort the world into two simple categories: safe and unsafe. Most of the time, they are ready. Trust looks emotional. It feels personal, but underneath it lies one of the oldest survival systems on Earth. Long before language existed, long before humans built cities, living creatures were already making choices about whom to approach, whom to avoid, and whose signals deserved belief. Every day, countless animals place their lives in the hands, paws, wings, or intentions of others. They do it so quickly that we barely notice.
And once you see how they make those decisions, trust starts looking less like a feeling and more like a biological technology. Most people think animals trust because they become familiar with someone. Feed a dog every day and it trusts you. Spend enough time near a horse and it relaxes. Raise an animal from birth and the bond simply forms. That explanation sounds obvious because familiarity often matters. But familiarity alone cannot explain what animals actually do. That's not what happened. Animals routinely trust complete strangers. They reject familiar individuals. They change their minds after a single interaction. Some even learn whom to trust by watching others. Trust is not just recognition. It is a prediction about the future. The real mechanism begins with risk. Every animal lives in a world filled with uncertainty. Food can be a trap. A sound can signal danger. Another animal can help or harm. The brain constantly gathers clues.
A dog's nose contains up to hundreds of millions of scent receptors. Humans have only a fraction of that number. Tiny chemical traces reveal stress, illness, fear, and excitement. Before a dog understands what is happening, its nose is already collecting evidence. Vision adds another layer. Many animals pay attention to movement patterns. Sudden motions often signal danger. Predictable movements signal safety. A calm body can communicate more than any sound. Then comes memory. Brains store thousands of small experiences. A bird remembers where food appeared. A horse remembers rough handling. A wolf remembers which pack members cooperate during hunts. Trust grows when predictions come true. An individual approaches. Nothing bad happens. It approaches again, still safe. The brain quietly updates its model of the world. Scientists call this learning. To the animal, it feels automatic. The process happens over minutes, months, or years. Every interaction becomes data. Every outcome changes the calculation. Trust is not blind faith. It is a survival strategy built from evidence. One of the most remarkable examples appeared in 2008 in Seattle, Washington.
That year, wildlife researcher John Marzluff began studying crows at the University of Washington. The experiment seemed simple. Researchers wore realistic rubber masks while capturing and releasing wild crows. One mask became associated with danger. Days passed, then weeks. The researchers returned wearing the same masks. The crows reacted immediately. They swooped low. They called loudly. They followed the masked people through campus. Students walking nearby heard harsh warning cries echoing between buildings. Years passed. The response continued. Even stranger, young crows that had never witnessed the original capture joined the harassment. They learned from older birds. The dangerous face had become part of crow culture. By 2013, the birds were still recognizing and reacting to the mask. The scene looked almost impossible. A person walked beneath gray skies. Black wings gathered overhead. Sharp calls spread from tree to tree. Birds that had never experienced the threat themselves still treated the face as suspicious. The crows were not merely remembering. They were sharing trust information across generations. A single encounter had become a community lesson. Scientists have spent decades uncovering how these decisions work.
John Marzluff's crow studies showed that wild crows recognize individual human faces and pass information through social learning. The findings revealed memory systems far more sophisticated than many people expected. Another breakthrough came from researchers studying dogs. In experiments led by scientists at institutions including the University of Veterinary Medicine, Vienna, dogs watched humans point toward hidden food. At first, they followed to gesture, but when the person repeatedly provided misleading information, the dogs stopped trusting the signal. They learned reliability, not familiarity, reliability. The distinction matters.
The dogs adjusted their behavior based on whether information proved useful. Research on primates revealed something similar. Chimpanzees often pay close attention to social relationships within their groups. They remember previous interactions and change future behavior accordingly. Cooperation, grooming, food sharing, and conflict all contribute to trust decisions. Perhaps the most surprising evidence comes from fish. Cleaner wrasse fish remove parasites from larger fish. The relationship depends entirely on trust. The larger fish could easily eat the cleaner. The cleaner could cheat by taking bites of healthy tissue, yet stable partnerships form. Both sides monitor behavior. Both sides remember past interactions. Both sides adjust future choices.
Even underwater, trust functions like an ongoing negotiation. And then it gets stranger. Trust may have helped build some of the most complex societies on Earth. Ant colonies rely on chemical signals. Bees depend on shared information about food. Wolves coordinate hunts. Dolphins form long-term alliances. Elephants cooperate across years and even decades. None of this works without dependable signals. An animal that trusts too easily gets exploited. An animal that trusts nobody loses opportunities. Evolution pushes toward a difficult balance. Trust enough to cooperate. Distrust enough to survive. In some species, entire social systems depend on that balance. A wolf pack hunting elk succeeds because individuals trust one another's movements. One mistake can mean injury. One reliable partner can mean food for everyone.
Trust shapes survival at every scale, from a single interaction to an entire society. What the data cannot reach is the experience itself. Scientists can measure behavior, they can track hormones, they can map brain activity, they can predict choices, but they cannot directly observe what trust feels like inside another mind. Does a crow experience suspicion the way you do? Does a dolphin feel confidence in an ally? Does a dog feel something resembling belief? The behavior is visible, the inner experience remains hidden. Between observable actions and subjective experience sits one of the largest unanswered questions in biology. The mystery is not whether animals trust. The mystery is what trust truly is. We often imagine trust as something uniquely human, a promise, a handshake, a contract, a friendship. But the roots reach much deeper. Long before words existed, living creatures were already deciding whom to follow and whom to avoid. They were gathering evidence, updating memories, and betting their futures on imperfect information. In that sense, trust is older than language, older than civilization. Perhaps every time you decide someone is safe, you are using an ancient system inherited from countless generations before you, a system that once guided wolves through snow, crows through forests, and fish through coral reefs, a quiet calculation running beneath thought, like a hidden river flowing through every living mind.